Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our latest live video. So I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Zoe today. And we're going to talk a lot about events, kind of what's gone on in the last 12 months or so, and kind of what the future holds in the next year or so, because it's obviously an area, goes without saying, really, has been hugely impacted by the last 12 months as much as any other area, really. So we're gonna go into that in a few minutes. We are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So if anyone does want to put any questions in the comments, please do. We'll try to get to those and answer any comments or questions. Please, like I said, please put them in the boxes. I know a lot of people do watch this quite often after the event, after live, because it'll pop up in your feed. Again, I'm sure Zoe's happy if there's any questions for her to kind of answer them offline later. So do feel put them in, and I'll ask Zoe at the end to kind of leave some contact details as well. So yeah, that's it from me. I mean, Zoe, do you want to kind of introduce yourself first and kind of tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, more than happy, guys. If you want to reach out to me after this, then please do. But I'm Zoe. I run a business called Fab, and we specialise within event and marketing strategy. That has evolved through the lockdown. My background is very much event management in the hospitality and corporate sector, and we had to innovate or pivot, I suppose we're all used to that word by now, and evolve, and I believe into a stronger business. And yeah, we just really want to help as many people as we can, whether that be on an events or marketing basis, as events are a marketing activity, subject to when you do them. If it's for a social capacity, it's more to do with you wanting to go to maybe get a little bit merry, celebrate an occasion maybe, but majority is a marketing activity on a B2B focus. So yeah, just happy to be here and answer any questions that anyone may have, because yes, we have been impacted and there's still a lot of grey areas over events at the moment. So yeah, more than happy to be here to just offer some insight if I can.
Thank you very much, Zoe. And as you can imagine, I've got lots of questions about events as well, because it's very relevant to what I do. So do you want to, I mean, I don't want to go over old ground too much, but do you want to kind of summarize the last 12 months, maybe kind of generally speaking, but also for yourself as well, and kind of all the changes and the issues that's been seen in the industry?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we can only kind of take the view on how we have been impacted. We know as a sector generally how we've been impacted. Our sector has been more or less closed overnight, and we've not really had much support available out there in form of grants and funding. And the thing is, with the events, they do tend to be quite costly, and there's many things that bring an event together, so it involves many sectors. So there's a lot of people, from staffing to AV to event management to hotels to F&B. Everyone has been impacted in some way due to this pandemic, and for us it was a shock, but I do feel we was slightly prepared for it as much as we could be, because I'm quite anal in research. I look at events, I look at trends, I look at marketing statistics, and also with that, my clients were saying, Zoe, what is this COVID? What is this going to change our event? Can we still go ahead with our event? All of these questions were happening, and we was thinking about plan Bs right in January. Right, so if this was going to impact us, we was unable to run, what could we do instead? And that's where the Fab Strategy Service was kind of born very early on in February of last year. But still, it was a shock to sit on the bottom of my staircase on the 23rd of March and not literally have any bookings in terms of events. And I had one client, God bless her, Wendy Ward, that said that regardless, Zoe, I'm sticking with you. And we'll get through this. And my coach was, events have gone, Zoe, but your skill set hasn't. So what else can you do? So I just reached out to my network and asked what I could help them with any introductions, because we are in the same storm, but I believe we're in different boats and we've all been impacted. individually, because it's not just impacted as business, it's impacted as life, with everyone being at home. And I can only tell you from our point of view, we did lose 98% of our business overnight, literally just gone like that. 5 years building up and just gone overnight. But we spent a lot of time in that first lockdown researching, speaking to people, asking what they needed. And it was more the Fab strategy service that came to the forefront. So we innovated and pivoted and started offering that strategy service with events to offer businesses a way forward, because it was very difficult, and it still is difficult to know what is to come. But yeah, it's been very up and down. I'm pleased to say we are starting to see it plateau, and then hopefully we're hoping the growth spout will happen later this year with what's to come. But all we can do, and I think this is something that it's taught us, is we can only plan for today at the moment in time. And for me individually, I'm planning for 3 months ahead, and I'm reviewing it, and I'm hoping that my plans come forward and I'm able to support even more people with their events in 2021. But I do have a plan B for them. I do have a plan C for them, because the opportunity for me that's come out of these past 12 months is, in our sector, it's offered more choice. If you think about events prior to March 2020, it was very much, if you're having an event, where you're having it, what room you're going to put it in, who you're going to invite, what you're going to put on the price per ticket, etc., and all them elements. It was not considered any form of online, any form of hybrid, and that's what it's brought to the forefront. Hybrid and online events were actually being done in other countries, but the English sector is a very traditional sector when it comes to events. So it's allowed us, I think, to actually, in a marketplace, go forward, and I think we're going to boom because of it. Because what's happened is a shift, isn't it, in history? I was talking about it this morning. It's not just something we're going to forget overnight.
Nope.
And I do believe when there is a shift in something and a movement, things come from that. Some good, some bad, but more or less it's opportunity for you to kind of go forward with things. And I think with events, that's what it's done. Now, when you consider events, it's going to be a case of, are we putting you back in the room? Or are we going to put you back in the room and then attract a wider audience through hybrid? Or due to cost, because we've all been impacted on a cost level, I'm sure we all have financially in this past 12 months, is it more sustainable and cost effective to keep some of our events online? So yeah, it's been very turbulent, to answer your question. But I hopefully do see that we are going to grow, and all in like sectors within events are hopefully going to really benefit from what's to come in terms of the new normality with the restrictions being lifted.
Absolutely. And kind of my personal thoughts on kind of events and meetings and everything to do with this kind of face-to-face is that, like you said, there's a big shift, and there's going to be this demand. If you are going to make the effort to jump on a train or drive to a particular venue, or even on a plane, you're going to have to get real value from that. People are going to demand real value from it. So you're going to have to think about what you are giving people and then decide, is it going to be online? Is it going to be face-to-face, or a mixture of the two, obviously? And because people will be more aware of their time now. And that'll be the big shift. And this is where, like you quite rightly said, I think there'll be that big change over the coming months and years in events. So kind of, yeah, but you kind of touched on it there. How do you see events kind of evolving in the next 18 months or so?
Like I touched upon, I think there's going to be more options available to organisers, and they're going to have to ask themselves, what is the value of bringing people in the room again? So to give you an example, as you can imagine, I'm on a lot of forums, a lot of groups when it comes to events, and there is a lot of inquiries happening at the moment in the summer to bring employees together, because that is value and that is a need. For a connection point of view, bringing the team, morale point of view, mental health point of view, because the team have been broken up and isolated, and you can get a lot of value from putting a team back into a room together. So yes, I do think that that's the right thing to do. But when you're organising an event, you need to just ask yourself that question: what is the value of bringing that event into a face-to-face setting, and what lasting impression will that have, and is that going to be impacted into the business? Because one thing you're going to have to consider, especially if you're bringing people into a room on a customer facing point of view or an employee point of view, is if they want to be there. That market research is going to happen that didn't need to prior, because it was never in the occasion. And it might be that you have to hybrid it to begin with. And I think hybrid, to answer your question, Michael, is going to be very much in demand, definitely in the next 18 months, because it's going to offer a solution to the problem. It's going to allow you to bring that face-to-face capacity in for anyone who wishes to, but anybody who is saying no, you don't want to exclude them. So by having a hybrid option, you are going to involve everybody, and that is going to be really beneficial. You don't want to isolate anybody because they've already been isolated enough, in my opinion. So I definitely think in the next 18 months we're going to see more hybrid, and then we will come back to a form of face-to-face to full capacity, but there's still going to be that option to do something a little bit more sustainably for companies. So I don't think we're going to lose the hybrid and online aspect at all.
No, I would agree, and you can see on the screen there, I've put a question there that Andy put on Facebook, which is kind of what you've answered there. You know, the kind of blend of both online and face to face at the same event, and you know, I believe again, going that to what people will demand. People will demand that. They'll, you know, I'm sure there's, you know, well, I'm based up in Leeds, and there's times when I've gone to events in London. I don't think people will do much of that in the future. They'll do some of it, but they'll say, well, why can't you provide that for me to sit in my office or at my home and still get involved? And I think that's kind of the point Andy was making there.
Yeah, I mean, I've had the discussion this week, and it was about somebody travelling down from Scotland, and normally they get the early train, they'd be in London. Say if they got the 5 o'clock train, they'd be in London for 11 o'clock, they'd be at the meeting for 12, and they'd probably, even on the same day, come back, but be back at home for 11 o'clock at night. That is a full day. Now, if you put in a full event in it, it's not going to be that. It's going to be something that's either a day or 2 or a 3-day journey. Put it into your diary. And what value is that for that person to come down from Aberdeen to something that they can connect into from their home? So I definitely think with Andy's question, the blend of face-to-face and hybrid is going to be quite key. And you may find that it's a 50-50 split in the beginning. And then you might start to see that it's a 60%, 40% split, with 60% wanting to be in face-to-face. Because what has happened, and I'm sure you'll agree, Michael, with any sector, is scaremongering that's been going on in the media. And some has truth in it and some doesn't. And I believe that a lot of people at this moment in time are scared because they don't know what's going to happen. We've never experienced what we've just experienced in our lifetime, and touch wood, when that's not going to happen again. But we just don't know that. So when I got asked this question last year, saying, when do you think the events will open, Zoe? And I said, the Euros or a live sporting event will kick it off, in my opinion, because it shows the media, the general public, that it is safe to go outside in a mass setting and attend a concert, a live event, whatever that be. And it'll push us forward. And when we'll see that there's no kind of mass kind of statistics that have come from previous with COVID, that will make people feel a little bit more comfortable. So it's literally going to be like we're gonna crawl before we can walk, and we're going to walk before we can run. And I do believe when we get to the next 18 months, we're going to be back into a new normality and in full swing. But it's just about going with emotions, I think, for this year.
I mean, I completely agree about the visibility of a big kind of high-profile event will be the place to start. I was at the last football game in this country that was played. It was a year ago yesterday since there was a full capacity. So I know that obviously that was a very different setting and different time. But yeah, so we've had a few comments in. So from Ellie, thank you, Ellie. So I know she's mentioned how much she enjoys the online elements of things.
Yeah.
But kind of on the flip side, she also wants to looking forward to having a party. And
I feel
yeah, I think most people feel like that, Ellie. And she's obviously in relation to my question about events around the country. You know, she said herself she won't be traveling around the country, and I think a lot of people will feel similar.
I think honestly, it will go back. What I say in marketing, you focus locally, then regionally, then nationally. And prior to COVID, we was going all over the country, all over the nation for the business, which you're going to do, whether that be something that's beneficial to you or beneficial to your business. What it's allowed us to do is come back home and get grounded a little bit. So now we've come off the hamster wheel, so to speak. We can now decide the decisions that are best for us in our business and our life. And that's a real positive, because when have you ever known an opportunity that we've had to just stop and get off the hamster wheel and kind of reflect? And 100%, I can't wait to get back to the party. Everyone that knows me and who may know me watching this live knows I do events. Of course, I like to socialize. Of course, I like to be with my family and friends and have a bit of a party and a bit of a boogie. And I think the social aspect definitely is going to be there. As soon as June comes, everybody's going to be literally waiting for them doors to open. But on an event basis, 100%, that question from an organizer point of view is going to have to be, that question's got to be asked first. What's the value about bringing people into the room, and do people want to come into the room? And if that question and that market research is a 50-50, that's your hybrid element coming in there, because it's going to be more cost effective as well. You're just spending money in other ways that's going to benefit you as a whole and your attendees.
Yeah, well, actually, you touch on cost there. I've had a really interesting question in from Andy there, which I think is a really interesting point about the price points for events that are going to be, I guess, face-to-face or online, or potentially both. You know, how will that play out? Because potentially you're going to be maybe charging, I don't know, £50 of in person or £20 online or something like that. You know, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think there'll be more emphasis on the face-to-face price, because people who want to come into a face-to-face event really want to. Like, they are chomping at the bit to come back into that environment. So the demand is there for that ticket price. So to give you an example, for a half-day workshop in our area in Sheffield, prior to COVID, you was looking at anything from £50, depending on the business development topic, probably a maximum of £75. If you went into more cities, you're probably looking at the 99 mark. I don't think that price will change, but I do think you can be more on the higher end. I think you're still going to have that price point, but you might be able to go more to the £60 and the £75 mark. So I'm based in Sheffield, for example. In the Manchester mark, you might be able to go more towards the 100 mark. So you can go more to the higher end, because the demand's going to be there for that person who really wants that ticket to be in that room. When you look at for an online, the value is still there, but the interaction isn't. It is, but it's just different. And the experience is going to be completely different. And if you really want it to attract a maximum capacity, it's asking yourself, well, what would a person online want to spend? Now, I've seen online events this past year range from free up to £35-50. So it still is going to put a price on it, but it's what that price is you're comfortable to charge. So, for example, if you're a £75 face-to-face ticket, I would say £35, something like that, to a £50 bracket. I wouldn't charge for free if you've got a face-to-face ticket that you're charging. So, yeah, just on your price point, to answer Nancy's question, it's to do a little bit of research, but the emphasis and the demand's more going to be into the face-to-face setting. So that needs to be your premium ticket price. And your online for the hybrid price needs to be discounted to accommodate that they're not in the room.
Yeah, really interesting point. Ellie's made, thank you, Ellie, as well, about, we'll want it cheaper online. I think that's pretty, I think most people probably accept that will be the case, but would like the goodies. And I think that's maybe an interesting way that people who have organized events, how you do things like that, the various things you can do with people, whether that's using post or what, I don't know, but it's an interesting idea, I think that.
Yeah, I mean, past these 12 months, the amount of ideas that I have seen come from online events and things being sent out to people for participating and being delegates, anything from a cup and a stress ball to a pen to a bottle of champagne to a gin tasting set to afternoon tea to a 3-course meal being delivered for an award ceremony. There's loads of options now. You speak to merchandise companies, they will have a solution for you. So 100% as an organizer, if your face-to-face delegate is going to receive a goodie bag for attending, something on a more sustainable scale needs to be sent to your online guests, whether it be, so for example, even today, I mean, this is a little bit bigger than postage size, but one of my suppliers sent me a gift so I could see her products face to face. So I've seen them online, but I've actually not touched them. I've not seen them in person. Box, as you'll agree. But there are some boxes half of that size that you can send out with a leaflet in, with some merchandise, a pen, a keyring, anything lightweight that can be sent through postage through the Royal Mail, so it's more affordable and sustainable for the business as well. So there's a solution for everything at the moment, because that's what COVID has done. It's been devastating for our sector, but I honestly believe for the next 18 months it's going to offer so much opportunities and really open the bar. And I honestly think even more things are going to come from this on an innovation point of view.
Well, I was thinking that, with all, it doesn't really matter what industry you're in. I think in the last year or so, everyone's had to become more creative in different ways. And I think, I have a big belief that the businesses that, once we come out of all this, that will really fly and really grow will be the ones who've been the most creative and the most innovative, and will change. And I think it's just the exact same with events as well. I would suggest.
Definitely, I got an inquiry not so recently, and VR was on it. An AR, which is virtual reality. And in a normal setting in an exhibition, you might come to a stand and put the headset on and be able to walk through something, or they could demonstrate something for you. But now that's actually available online, and you just wouldn't have thought of that 12 months ago, but it's coming into the marketplace now. So just imagine, on an innovation point of view, what this is going to do for the event sector. I'm excited to see what happens in the next 18 months. That's for sure.
And one last question for me, Zoe, actually, is just kind of, I guess, generally about events, is that obviously there is a difference between organising an online event and a face-to-face event, and I know kind of hybrid somewhere in the middle of that, obviously. But my kind of impression is that when you're organising a face-to-face event, a lot of the work is done essentially in advance of the event. A lot of your kind of logistical type stuff that you do in advance. Whereas the online events, a lot of the resource needs to be ready there and then, just to react with technology and things like that, and depending on what platforms you use and that kind of thing. Is that a fair assumption of kind of the difference between the two?
Yeah, definitely. I'll give you an example. I did an event in October for a client, and it attracted around 300 delegates over 3 days. Something of that size, I would at least have 6-month planning time on, minimum. Anything from 12 months to 6 months, because in a face-to-face setting, you've got to consider everyone's schedules, you've got to consider the speaker's availability, which you still have to do on an online setting. But because everything is at home at the moment, the diary kind of goes out of the window, and you can, on a delegate point of view, have it there and go in and out of it on the speaker events, but carry on with your day to day. So again, more sustainable and more efficient for the business. So you're not really taking someone out of the business, but they're also still attending. Yeah. So 100%, and I'll give you the comparison. Something like that would take me 6 to 12 months to put together for a client. That inquiry they spoke to me in January, and 6 weeks prior to that date going ahead, they told me they've got the green light and that we was going on it.
Right.
And we pulled it together. We just pulled it together within 6 weeks. So that's how quick it speeds things up by putting everything online and digitally. Hybrid, probably you're going to see that it's probably going to have to be a mix between the two. So you're probably looking at a maximum of 6 month planning time. But 100%, I agree with that. Just from my own experience, from prior to the 23rd of March 2020 to now.
Yeah, well, that's exciting to know that, because like I said, you don't have to do things too far in advance, and you can be a bit more reactive to what the situation is, which is no bad thing, is it, as well?
It is. I mean, the opportunity as well with a fully online event is that if something's not going right and you need to stop and relook at things and maybe adapt and change dates or change speakers because the speaker that you've got now isn't available, you can do that. You can stop and start, when in a physical event, it's really quite difficult to do that. So 100% it's offering more flexibility, 100% to the organizer point of view. Yeah,
no, absolutely. That makes sense. Thank you very much, Zoe, and thank you for answering my questions on the points that have come up as well. So the last thing for me is, if anyone wants to find out a little bit more about you, what you do, where you are, where's the kind of best places to get hold of you?
So you can get hold of me on all the social media platforms. It's Events by Fab in terms of the handle, or just search Fab Events and you'll see my trusted logo, which is that. Just connect with me on there if you want kind of to just direct message, or you can email Zoe at eventsbyfab.co.uk and we can arrange a one-to-one to discuss your questions in a little bit more detail. But again, I'll drop into this live in the comments to leave my details as well.
Thank you very much, Zoe. And for whatever reason, if people can't find Zoe, please do contact me. We have all Zoe's details as well. So anywhere with the Northern Affinity, and obviously Zoe's on our website as well. So please let me know if for whatever reason you can't find. I'm sure you'll be able to.
Yeah, I'm definitely on the Northern Affinity, so all my details are up to date on there. So again, if you're a part of the Northern Affinity, do connect on there. Drop me a message, and I'll come back to you as soon as I can.
Brilliant, Zoe. Thank you so much for your time. That's been really, as I said, for nothing else for me about events and things like that. It's been great. Thank you very much.
No problem for having me.
Thank you very much, Zoe, and have a good day. And thank you everyone for watching.
All right, thanks guys. See you soon.